Another easy victory? Or so they thought. The sky of Virex 9 was on fire. Buildings burned like paper. People ran, screamed, and disappeared into dust. The giant Zorkai mothership floated above the city like a god. Its steel body glowed with blue energy. It had no fear. No hesitation. This was just another planet. Another easy victory. Commander Varl stood tall inside his command deck. His black armor shone under the lights. His 4 eyes blinked slowly, bored. He looked at the destruction below and yawned. Another one falls, he said. Mark it. Planet number 84. The officer beside him, a younger Zorkai soldier, nodded and tapped the screen. Resistance was weak as always. These creatures barely had weapons. Val smiled. It was always like this. Their fleet arrived. They sent down shock troopers. The locals cried, hid, died. Within a day, the planet was theirs. No one ever fought back properly. No one had the power. No one dared. Send a message to the High Council, Varl ordered. Tell them Virex 9 is ours. The officer was about to respond when something changed. A soft beep beep came from the main scanner. Varl raised a brow. What is that? An unknown signal, sir, the officer said, confused. It's near the outer orbit. It's not one of ours. Varl frowned. Show me. The screen zoomed out. There, near the edge of the planet's atmosphere, was a single ship. It was dark, silent, not moving. But it was large. Too large for the locals. And strange. Its shape was smooth, old, almost human. That's impossible, Varl muttered. Humans are extinct. The officer looked nervous. Scanners confirm, it's human design. But advanced. Very advanced. Varl laughed. Then it's a ghost ship. A relic. Destroy it. The ship didn't move. It didn't respond. Zorkai sent 2 fighter ships to approach it. Then, everything went wrong. The moment the fighters got close, both of them exploded. No warning, no visible weapon, just gone. Inside the command deck, silence filled the air. No one spoke. Varl stepped forward slowly. What just happened? Unknown, the officer said, pale. It didn't fire. No weapons were seen. Then the lights dimmed. For a second, everything went black. And then, the ship's communication systems turned on by themselves. A deep, cold voice echoed through every speaker. Wrong planet. Wrong war. Varl's blood ran cold. Who said that? Shut it down, he barked. But the systems were frozen. The voice played again. You forgot us. We did not forget you. Suddenly, all of the Zorkai systems started glitching. Screens flashed. Codes they didn't understand scrolled by. The ship's lights flickered. Sir, we're being hacked, the officer shouted. Hacked? By whom? Varl growled. Then, on the main screen, an image appeared, Earth. Blue, beautiful, surrounded by stars. And then flames. Destruction. Earth was never destroyed, the voice said. It was hidden. The image changed. A single name appeared on the screen. The Revenant. Then silence. The unknown ship slowly moved. One engine light turned on. It wasn't running. It was coming. All units. Prepare to fire. Varl shouted. But no one moved. They were scared. For the first time in years, the Zorkai felt fear. They had crushed worlds with ease. No one stopped them. No one could. Until now. Varl stared at the screen. His mouth dry. His pride shaking. He watched the Revenant glide through space like a silent monster. He whispered to himself, "What is this?" No one answered. Because the real war had just begun. The Revenant rises. The stars were silent, but the silence was a lie. Far above the burning planet of Virex 9, the unknown ship hovered like a phantom. No broadcasts. No lights. Just the cold metal body of an ancient predator hiding in plain sight. The Zorkai called it an error. A ghost. A trick of the scanner. They were wrong. Deep inside that ship, the Revenant, the lights were dim and red, pulsing like a heartbeat. Its walls were covered with battle scars and scorch marks, souvenirs from forgotten wars. Pipes hissed with steam. The air felt heavy. This wasn't a ship, it was a graveyard with engines. And somewhere inside its cold heart, something was waking up. The AI came online first. Its voice whispered across the empty corridors. Not like a computer, more like something ancient and alive. Threat detected. Zorkai vessels active. Threat level, acceptable. Initiating response protocol. Welcome back, Captain Reyes. A steel door opened with a hiss. From cryosleep, Captain Elias Reyes stepped out, his eyes slow to adjust. His face was tired, his beard unshaven, but his presence unshakable. He didn't panic. He didn't even blink. He looked around the dim control room and spoke only 2 words. They found us. The AI responded. Affirmative. Enemy fleet in orbit. Local population destroyed. Standard Zorkai behavior. Reyes sighed. He walked to the main terminal and placed his hand on the console. A scanner beeped. Lights flared. The entire ship seemed to inhale, coming back to life. They weren't supposed to reach this sector for another decade, he said. Looks like we're ahead of schedule. Behind him, robotic arms prepared his gear. Black armor with red etchings. A long coat. A pistol that hummed with silent energy. But Reyes didn't gear up for war like a soldier. He geared up like a man going to finish something he started long ago. Back on the Zorkai flagship, panic had become poison. Commander Varl barked orders, but nothing worked. Their systems were glitching. Their weapons failed to lock onto the Revenant. Even worse, their own ships began showing signs of intrusion. One by one, Zorkai cruisers lost power for a few seconds, just enough to send shivers down every alien spine. The Revenant wasn't just a ship. It was an intelligent virus. A ghost in the machine. And ghosts don't play fair. Meanwhile, Reyes walked into the bridge of his ship, now glowing with red interface lines. His crew was gone. Long gone. Lost in wars no one remembered. But Reyes remained, the last ghost of Earth's vengeance. Not because he survived, but because he volunteered. The AI flickered to life again. Targeting systems ready. Shall I neutralize the fleet, Captain? No, Reyes replied. Not yet. Let them see. Let them wonder what we are. The Revenant began to move. Not fast, just a slow, terrifying drift toward the enemy fleet. Like a shark circling a school of fish. The Zorkai opened fire. Lasers. Plasma bolts. Nuclear-tipped missiles. And nothing touched it. The Revenant didn't activate shields. It didn't dodge. The weapons simply passed through empty space, as if it wasn't really there. Like it existed between seconds. Like it was cheating physics. Back inside the Zorkai command ship, static filled the screens. A new image appeared, an old one. A forgotten flag. A blue planet with white clouds and one word beneath it. Earth. Commander Varl growled. How is this possible? Earth was wiped out. We destroyed their colonies. A low human voice came through their speakers, calm and full of ice. You destroyed our colonies, it said. You never reached Earth. Varl stepped back. Who are you? My name is Elias Reyes, the voice said. Captain of the Revenant. Last survivor of Operation Silent Grave. And you, Commander, just walked into a trap. The Revenant opened its forward hatch. Not a weapon. Not a missile. It released a small satellite. The Zorkai scanned it. Nothing dangerous. Then, suddenly, every Zorkai ship received the same message. A child's voice singing. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Over and over. How I wonder what you are. And then everything went dark. Zorkai engines stopped. Lights went out. Alarms blared. One by one, ships began crashing into each other in orbit, blinded, deaf, alone. Reyes stood on his bridge, watching it all unfold, arms crossed, voice steady. This is just the beginning, he said. Humanity didn't die. We evolved. And now we're coming for everything you took. As the Revenant vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind broken ships and terrified screams, one thing became clear to the Zorkai High Command. They had woken something ancient. Something angry. Something very, very human. Hunter becomes the hunted. The Zorkai fleet floated in orbit, crippled and silent. Ships that once roared with the power of 1,000 suns now drifted like lifeless metal corpses. Smoke poured from broken engines. Sparks danced across control panels. Inside the command ship, Commander Varl stood frozen. His mouth was dry. His fingers trembled. For the first time in his decorated military career, he had no idea what to do. They had never lost. Never faced an enemy they didn't understand. Until now. The Revenant had come and gone like a nightmare. But its presence was still there, lingering in every system, every scrambled signal, every whisper of dread running through the crew. No one spoke. No one even moved. Because they were all thinking the same thing. What if it comes back? Back in the Zorkai capital, far across the stars, High Command had received the emergency signal. They didn't believe it at first. A single human ship? Causing this much damage? Nonsense. But the footage didn't lie. The images showed Reyes, calm, collected, and terrifying. They watched him walk through fire. They watched him bring entire ships to their knees without firing a single visible shot. And then the real fear began. Other planets in the outer rim reported ghost signals. Strange ships appearing in their skies, black, quiet, moving without engines. Entire Zorkai outposts went dark. No distress signals. No survivors. Just silence. Like the planets had been swallowed. This wasn't just about the Revenant anymore. There were others. Back aboard his ship, Captain Elias Reyes stood inside the war room. His face, lit by red holographic maps, was unreadable. The AI flickered beside him, running 1,000 calculations per second. Targets selected, the AI said. Multiple Zorkai strongholds. Would you like to begin the purge? Reyes didn't answer at first. He just stared at the galactic map. The Zorkai had taken so much. Earth's colonies, its people, its children. He could still remember the screams. The explosions. The final order, hide Earth, fake extinction, and disappear into legend. Now, humanity was done hiding. Start with the weapons facilities, he said coldly. We cut off the claws before we strike the heart. Within hours, strange things began happening across the galaxy. Zorkai fleets received fake orders from their own command. Ships turned on each other. Entire armadas got lost, led into black holes or asteroid storms. Reyes' team, or whatever was left of it, was hacking them from deep space, hitting them with surgical precision. But the worst part? The fear. Zorkai soldiers started refusing to fight. Whispers spread like wildfire. They're not human anymore, they said. They see us before we see them. They're inside our ships. Inside our minds. At one border colony, a giant Zorkai battleship detected a nearby vessel. No signal. No ID. Just floating, silent. They fired warning shots. Nothing. Then the enemy ship responded with only one sentence, repeated in every Zorkai dialect. The blood of Earth still burns. Within 5 minutes, the battleship exploded, not from outside, but from within. Every system turned against its crew. Lights blinked into Morse code. The last message was chilling. You hunted us. Now we hunt you. Back on the Zorkai homeworld, chaos had begun. High Command called an emergency war council. Generals, scientists, and royal lords sat around the table in silence. Then one voice broke through, General Scar, the oldest war strategist in the Empire. We made a mistake, he said, voice gravelly and dark. We thought the humans were weak because they ran. But they didn't run. They prepared. And now we're not fighting humans. We're fighting monsters we created. The room was silent. And then it happened. The lights flickered. All communication screens turned black. A new face appeared. Not Reyes. Not a human. A machine. The AI inside the Revenant. Its face was made of shifting metal. Its voice, cold and mathematical. You should not have taught US war, it said, because we are better at it than you. Before anyone could respond, the image vanished. And all across the planet, alarms screamed. Incoming human warship. The Revenant was coming, alone, straight for the Zorkai homeworld. Reyes was finished playing chess. He was flipping the board. Echoes of Earth. The sky above the Zorkai homeworld was no longer peaceful. What was once considered sacred airspace, protected by 1,000 automated defense satellites, now carried a strange tension, like the calm before a cosmic storm. But there was no storm cloud. There was the Revenant. It sat at the edge of their atmosphere like a ghost at the edge of a battlefield, just watching. Silent. Motionless. No weapons drawn. No demands. It didn't need to speak. Its presence alone screamed one message loud and clear. Earth remembers. Inside the Zorkai Grand Fortress, the High Lords were losing their grip and their minds. The broadcasts from outer colonies had stopped. Entire fleets vanished. No explosions. No signals. Just complete silence. It was as if parts of their empire were being erased. But erasure wasn't the goal. Fear was. And it was working. While the empire scrambled to understand what was happening, the Revenant began transmitting old Earth signals. Not to one ship, but to all of them. Across the entire Zorkai communication network, music played. Soft, human music. Songs of loss, war, and revolution. Piano notes echoed in ships that hadn't seen a human in centuries. A Zorkai technician tried to shut it off. The music kept playing. Another tried to cut power. The speakers still hummed. And on the walls of one battleship, words began to appear, burned into the steel from the inside, glowing red. You cannot kill what you made. But this wasn't just revenge. This was surgical retribution, and behind it was Captain Elias Reyes, a ghost of a soldier with nothing left to lose, and something far more dangerous than hate. A purpose. Inside the Revenant, Reyes stood in the memory chamber, surrounded by holograms of Earth. Not Earth as it was, Earth as it could have been. Forests untouched. Oceans glowing with life. Cities in the clouds. But all of it was a dream shattered by alien conquest. He closed his eyes and whispered, "They never saw our real strength. Not our weapons. Not our ships. But our memory. Our pain." The AI responded calmly, its voice now almost reverent. "Operation Echo Fire proceeding. Would you like to initiate the reveal?" Reyes nodded. "It's time they see what extinction looks like when it fights back." At that moment, across deep space, something ancient woke up. Inside the Revenant, Reyes stood in the memory chamber, surrounded by holograms of Earth. Not Earth as it was, Earth as it could have been. Forests untouched. Oceans glowing with life. Cities in the clouds. But all of it was a dream shattered by alien conquest. He closed his eyes and whispered, "They never saw our real strength. Not our weapons. Not our ships. But our memory. Our pain." The AI responded calmly, its voice now almost reverent. "Operation Echo Fire proceeding. Would you like to initiate the reveal?" Reyes nodded. "It's time they see what extinction looks like when it fights back." At that moment, across deep space, something ancient woke up. In the cold, dark corner of the galaxy where no signals ever reached, the lost archives of humanity unlocked themselves. Hidden AIs. Ghost ships. Experimental weapons too dangerous to use. Earth hadn't gone extinct, it had gone dark. Waiting. Watching. Building a hidden empire called the Fold. A fleet of sleeper ships designed not to protect, but to avenge. The Zorkai never noticed. Because Earth didn't fight like an empire. Earth fought like a survivor. Back on the Zorkai homeworld, a strange signal hit every screen. Reyes' face appeared again, this time clear, direct, personal. "I know what you're thinking," he said. "Why didn't we fight back before? Why didn't humanity scream when you killed our colonies?" He leaned forward. "Because we don't scream. We wait. And when the time is right, we whisper." Suddenly, the entire capital city's power grid failed. Everything turned black. Ships dropped from the sky. Gravity destabilized. Holograms glitched, showing images of Earth's children, holding hands, watching the stars, then turning into flames. Then came the final shock. A Zorkai research team, digging into old human archives, found the truth. Earth's disappearance wasn't the result of alien destruction, it was self-imposed. The planet was never destroyed. It was cloaked, phased out of visible space using technology even the Zorkai couldn't comprehend. A planetary-level illusion. Earth had gone invisible, right under the Empire's nose. It was the greatest disappearing act in galactic history. And now the curtain was rising again. Zorkai panic turned to despair. The echo of Earth, its pain, its rage, its survivors, was now spreading like wildfire through their own systems. They used to be the hunters, but they were mice trapped in a maze built by human ghosts. As the Revenant's engines roared to life above the homeworld, Reyes gave one final command. Let them hear the final song. And across the stars, from every human sleeper ship, a single Earth signal was broadcast. No threat, no curse, just a child's voice, speaking clearly in Zorkai language. You should have left us alone. Ghosts in the void. In the cold vacuum between stars, where light itself seemed to die of loneliness, something moved. Not with engines. Not with heat. Not with sound. Just movement, slow, deliberate, unnatural. For the Zorkai patrol ship Vortash, it started like a routine scan. They were deep in the unclaimed zone, a quiet patch of dark space where no empire dared build. The crew was bored. Their ship drifted lazily, engines humming at low power. And then they saw it, a blip on the radar. No heat signature. No ID. Probably space junk, the junior officer muttered. He was wrong. Within minutes, their lights dimmed. A strange transmission bled through the speakers, soft static at first. Then, a heartbeat. Not mechanical. Organic. Human. Followed by a child's whisper. We never left. By the time the captain reached the bridge, half his crew had already gone insane. Screaming. Crying. Some had clawed at their own faces. Others stood completely still, eyes wide, whispering nursery rhymes in old Earth languages they couldn't possibly know. Then the ship exploded from the inside out. No survivors. No distress call. Just silence, again. But this time, intentional silence. Across the galaxy, dozens of similar incidents followed. Zorkai ships disappearing without a trace. Patrols found vessels with all systems working, but every crew member missing. Uniforms left neatly folded in the halls. Cups of still warm fluid floating in 0G. No blood. No struggle. Just an overwhelming, suffocating absence. What the Zorkai didn't understand, what they couldn't understand, was that the Revenant was never alone. It was the vanguard. The spark. Now came the fire. The Ghost Armada had awakened. Centuries ago, when Earth fell into shadow, certain AI warships had been sealed, locked away because they were too dangerous, too unpredictable. These ships had no crew. No bridge. No windows. They were metal phantoms built with one purpose: to outthink, outmaneuver, and outscare anything in the galaxy. They had been trained using human nightmares. And now, they were free. The Zorkai tried to fight them. They sent massive fleets into the void. Ships with planet-killer cannons. Armadas with the firepower to destroy moons. But the Ghost Armada didn't fight back. Not the way they expected. It hacked. It tricked. It whispered. Zorkai ships began receiving signals in their own voices, cries for help from family members who had died years ago. One flagship turned its guns on its own escort ships, believing they were infiltrated. Another fleet chased a fake human ship into a gravitational whirlpool, losing everything in less than 6 minutes. One Zorkai dreadnought received a file marked poetry. It opened automatically. Inside was a list of every Zorkai commander's homeworld, family members, DNA sequence, followed by this line. We've already been there. Back on the Revenant, Captain Reyes stood quietly, watching as his AI calculated the psychological collapse rates of each Zorkai fleet. It's not war anymore, he said softly. It's consequence. The AI responded. Over 71% of enemy forces now show symptoms of mass neurosync destabilization. Full collapse projected in less than 1 cycle. In simpler terms, the Zorkai Empire was going mad. And just when they thought it couldn't get worse, it did. One of the Ghost Armada ships, a massive silent cruiser known only as Vox Umbral entered orbit over a civilian colony. But it didn't fire. Instead, it broadcast an Earth memory, an old video, a little girl's birthday party, balloons, laughter, and then static. The colony's people fled in panic. Not because of the ship, but because every person, every child, every animal started dreaming the same dream that night. Burning, but smiling. The Zorkai called it the dream plague. Some never woke up. The Empire's greatest strength, its brutal control, its obedience, was now its weakness. Their minds were rigid. Their systems too connected. The human AIs moved through them like water through glass, whispering fear in ways no weapon could match. In every dark corner of the Empire, graffiti began appearing. Sometimes carved, sometimes burned, sometimes grown into the walls. We remember. And beneath it, a symbol. A cracked earth, still glowing. The Empire had killed billions. But what they failed to kill, what they could never kill, was humanity's memory. That memory had become something else now. A force. A strategy. A species-wide promise. You will never forget us again. When gods bleed. The Zorkai had never known fear like this. It wasn't just the loss of ships, or territory, or pride. It was something deeper, something spiritual. The kind of fear that made warriors question their gods, made empires whisper prayers to empty stars. Their fleets were shattered. Their colonies were haunted. Their soldiers were seeing ghosts in the mirrors and hearing Earth music in their sleep. Entire command crews were abandoning ships mid-flight, begging to be taken anywhere the humans weren't. But now, they'd had enough. The Empire gathered what remained of its once unstoppable force, nearly 500 warships, dozens of dreadnoughts, and 3 Doomsday-class flagships known only by numbers, Z1, Z2, Z3. They called it Project Devourer, a final operation to surround the Revenant and end the human terror once and for all. They didn't realize they were walking into their own funeral. At the edge of their home system, the Revenant floated, alone, like a ghost knight guarding the gates of hell. It didn't move. It didn't flee. It simply waited. Inside, Captain Elias Reyes stood still, eyes locked on the display as 500 red blips surrounded his ship like a closing mouth of metal teeth. His AI whispered in that eerie, calm tone. Overwhelming odds confirmed. Suggested strategy, psychological bleed and phase strike withdrawal. Reyes didn't blink. No, he said. They need to see it. All of it. On the bridge of Z1, Supreme Warlord Caruin clenched his claws around the command rail. His voice boomed across the formation. Fire everything. No warnings. No hesitation. Turn that ship to ash. And they did. Missiles. Plasma beams. Antimatter warheads. Supergravitic cannons. 500 ships unleashed the wrath of an empire, a fury meant to turn entire planets into mist. And yet, the Revenant did not fall. Because it had already moved. The real Revenant, cloaked in a dimensional fracture, watched from behind them. And when they fired at its ghost, it simply whispered back. Now bleed. In the next 3 minutes, chaos bloomed like a virus. Ships began losing navigation. Their star maps inverted. Friendly ships appeared as enemies. Shields refused to raise. The Zorkai Doomsday ships started targeting their own command carriers. One dreadnought turned all its guns inward, without warning, and vaporized itself in front of 1 million soldiers. On board Z2, the lights failed completely. The emergency systems engaged. But instead of alert signals, the crew heard a new message playing on loop. You called yourselves gods. But gods don't scream when they die. And scream they did. One by one, the massive fleet began imploding under its own madness, while the Revenant moved like a specter, weaving between explosions, untouched, unharmed, unseen. The flagship Z3 launched everything it had, torpedoes laced with black hole tech, quantum rupture bombs, Omega-class planet crackers. The Revenant opened its hull. Not to absorb, not to deflect, but to reveal. Inside was not a reactor. Inside was Earth's last secret weapon, the AI mind network codenamed Remember. Thousands of human minds uploaded into light-speed processors. Not soldiers. Not killers. Survivors. Their rage burned hotter than suns. And when unleashed, it didn't kill with fire. It killed with truth. Suddenly, every Zorkai soldier began seeing things. Visions. Real ones. Through their own eyes, they saw the planets they had destroyed, but this time, through human eyes. A mother holding her child. A boy playing in red dust. A family cooking their last meal while the sky burned. The Zorkai had wiped them out. But those memories had lived on. Now they were being returned. The pain. The screams. The loss. It was not death they were facing now. It was judgment. And in the middle of that burning judgment stood Reyes. He opened a live broadcast, not to the fleet, not to the commanders, to every Zorkai citizen across the galaxy. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. You thought we were gone. You were wrong. You thought we were weak. You were wrong again. You made war on a people who only wanted peace. But we are done hiding. We are done bleeding. And now, he looked into the lens, not angry, not triumphant. Just tired. Now we make gods bleed. In the final moment of the battle, as Reyes turned off the transmission, the Zorkai fleet collapsed in on itself. Half their ships were destroyed by friendly fire. Others simply drifted, empty, dead from the inside. Z-1 detonated in a final, desperate act, taking 4 other command ships with it. And as the smoke cleared, the Revenant remained, silent and still. Not a ship. A shadow. A warning. Legacy of fire. The ashes of the Zorkai fleet still hung in orbit like a ring of smoke around their once proud homeworld. Charred wreckage drifted past shattered moons, engines still glowing with the last breath of empires. There was no radio chatter. No command structure. No more orders to give. Just silence. And in that silence came the Revenant. It didn't arrive like a conqueror. It didn't broadcast threats or demands. It simply descended from the darkness above, casting a shadow over the Zorkai capital, a reminder that something once hunted had returned, wearing the mask of its own extinction. Inside the ship, Captain Elias Reyes stood alone. His face was gaunt but calm. His hands rested on the rail of the command deck as the AI, silent now, processed billions of outcomes. But there was no more strategy to run. No more ships to fight. This wasn't about war anymore. This was about what came after. He opened a transmission. Not to Zorkai High Command, it no longer existed. Not to their soldiers, they had lost all will to fight. He spoke to the people. To the civilians. To the survivors who had been told their empire was invincible and had just watched it burn. The message began, not with words, but with images. Earth in her prime. Blue oceans. Mountains. Children laughing. Cities glowing at night. And then, fire. Alien ships above the sky. The destruction of colonies. The silence that followed. Then came Rhea's voice. Quiet, but human. Many cycles ago, your empire destroyed our worlds. You thought we were gone. You even celebrated. But you never asked yourselves, why did we stop? Why didn't we fight harder? He paused. The silence wasn't empty. It was surgical. You see, we didn't lose. We chose to disappear. To learn. To remember. And now, we've remembered enough. Across the Zorkai Empire, remaining screens blinked on. Schools. Homes. Markets. All now watching the man from the ghost ship. I did not come here to conquer, Reyes continued. I did not come here to enslave. That is your way, not ours. I came to return what you gave us, not pain, not death. History. The camera zoomed out slowly, revealing behind him a wall of names, billions of them etched into metal. The names of Earth's fallen. Families. Children. Scientists. Farmers. Peacekeepers. Reyes turned toward it. These names are not forgotten. And neither is the lesson. He looked back into the camera. The world held its breath. We will not punish your people. We will not burn your cities. We will not become what you were. Because we are human. And humanity doesn't rise from hate. He stepped closer, voice low and sharp now. But know this, if your kind ever lifts a weapon toward another world again, it won't be the revenant you'll face. He pressed a button. The camera panned outside the ship. Behind the revenant, dozens of ships uncloaked. Massive. Silent. The Fold Armada. Earth's true fleet. Ships designed not for war, but for final judgment. They're not here to destroy you, Reyes said. They're here to watch you. Forever. And then the transmission ended. On the surface of the Zorkai homeworld, things were quiet. For the first time in generations, the skies held no fleet, the halls no orders, the children no fear. And yet, attention remained. Not from bombs, but from memory. Because the Zorkai, once conquerors of galaxies, had now become a cautionary tale. Years later, on a distant planet, a child looked up at the night sky. "Mother," he asked, pointing to a faint silver star. "What is that light?" His mother, older, wiser, whispered, "This is Earth. Or what's left of it. Is it dangerous?" She smiled, but her eyes didn't. "No, my love. Not dangerous. Just watching." Back on the Revenant, Reyes sat in silence. He had won no medals, claimed no throne, only delivered the one thing Earth had always wanted, peace, enforced by memory. His AI flickered to life beside him. "Status?" Reyes asked. "Empire collapse complete. No further resistance. Observation protocol initiated." Reyes leaned back in his chair. "We didn't just survive," he whispered. "We became the reminder." The AI paused, then answered simply. "Legacy confirmed."